Hello there folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel, a place where I discuss different topics about spirituality and introspection, from time to time game interpretation. Here I am back in nature in the awesome park, surrounded by some people with a few children goofing around in a special place, someone taking some special training back in there, and I'm not gonna film them because I don't want people to appear online in videos without their consent. This time I decided to come up with a video idea called suffering and what would actually be the root of all suffering. Okay, like why is it that many people suffer? There are so many things, so many aspects in the world that people suffer from, but apparently suffering seems to have become a um, something that people collectively accept. It's like it's the new normal. If you don't suffer, and you can see that specifically in the mm, artistic people, right? I've also had the impression that you have to suffer from something, and the realization is a bit awkward because if you want to create art through suffering, well, you're gonna end up creating contorted and distorted ideas, which also will propagate your pain and will strengthen the idea within others that they also have to suffer, right? So, what would actually be suffering, right? Suffering is nothing else than situations in which you are not feeling your own self, right? You are feeling alienated, you are feeling completely different, you are feeling basically in any way, shape, or form that is not your genuine, authentic self. You're feeling helpless, useless, and any other ways, right? You're feeling domineered. Uh, and throughout the world, okay, throughout our evolution, consciously speaking, it's always been so easy to simply embrace the victimization part, right? Enjoying being the victim, right? Enjoying the victimhood, because in that way one would hit two birds, right? They would draw attention, and well, um, they would also avoid the responsibilities that you know one would have to come to, right? One would have to take into account in order to make their own lives much better. So, speaking of responsibilities, usually unconsciousness is the opposite, and kind of always unconsciousness is the opposite of taking responsibility, because responsibilities can only be taken from a conscious perspective. Not taking into account own uh, responsibilities, well, that kind of leads to one single truth, okay? You will suffer. One way or another, suffering will come, because the more things are delayed, the more, they will pile up. And unfortunately, well, time is just fleeting, so the more problems appear, the harder they will be to address in time, because, well, addressing them isn't as easy when they suddenly become more and more, and one is also pressed for time. So there are all sorts of suffering, and usually suffering stems from a aspect called um, identification. Okay, like um, from what I read, in World War II, the Germans were called Nazis, and this term is still used today, but the term was kind of injurious to them because it was, as of what I read, a Jewish word. Okay, that was basically the short form of National Socialism. Okay, and it was injurious because they were highly attached to what they thought they were, right? A regime, a communion, whatever they called themselves in World War II. Now, in America, for example, we know there is that awful N word, right, that you wouldn't want to call, black skinned people, because there has been attached a huge amount of pain to it, okay? And it's not necessarily injurious, it is highly injurious, right? So, one reason why this happens is because of unconsciousness, right? People don't ask themselves ever, why is it that I'm actually suffering from this, right? And of course, this kind of resumes itself to the idea of unawareness, okay, or unconsciousness, and of course, ignorance. Because as I've been portraying ignorance, it is accepting literally everything but without discernment. So technically, every time you ignore something, you're just running away from the responsibility of dealing with it. But at the same time, you allow it to simply occupy constantly a place in your own mind. Like so many people, I don't know, they hate their spouse, they hate their driver, they hate the person down the corner, they hate certain people in their life, but for some reason those people are always and literally always um, in their life, right? They are always in their mind, right? Someone tells you something, then you feel bad, and guess what? Because you feel bad, you're gonna basically suffer because your reaction induces a lot of negativity. What people don't understand is that anger and hatred are, things that reduce the capacity of your body, okay? It reduces the capacity of your body to think. When you are angered, you don't think too well. When you are manifesting anger, hatred, and the such, well, you're also inducing a lot of suffering. You're also inducing a lot of pain, which most likely you're not going to be aware of. Okay, you're going to distort your endocrine system, and many people are claiming there are many thyroid problems or other endocrinal problems because all these things are constantly bombarding your body with a lot of stress, right? The machines that we use, they all have a stable electromagnetic field which is also interacting with ours, right? So the body tries to compensate, and you suddenly switch from a place where you have machines around to a place where you have least of them, right? When you go from home to work, then you go back to work, then you go back home, and repeating this cycle constantly distorts, right, the body. Couple it with anger and other low vibrational feelings, that also cripples the body severely. Why does it do this? Well, it is said that 5 minutes of anger can lead to your immunity system being almost, well, not fully crippled, but severely crippled for several hours, even until it recovers. When you feel fear, right, there aren't I think there isn't a language in this world that would not have an expression for freezing chills, right, or chills down the spine. Now, why this happens is because people may not know exactly why that would be triggered, why that would be felt, but when you feel fear, right, water in your body simply crystallizes, right? It simply shapes itself, and there have been people who proved that. There have been experiments, right, with 3 glasses of water for at least 1 month, or, well, it's enough, several days are enough. You simply go and you simply something like this, okay? You have 3 glasses of water. To one you speak only good things, to one you speak bad things, and I don't know, to one you speak something else. And if you look at how the water shapes itself, right, it just shows how it reacts to things, right? And the water reacting to things is basically full unconsciousness, right? Water is not a conscious aspect, but it is a very good representative of how the auras of things, or let's say the atmosphere in a certain place is. Since the body is far more sensitive than water, okay, because body also has its own memory, you can also feel instantly certain things regarding people, right? The gut feeling. You have different feelings in your body, in your belly usually, because it's not called the gut for nothing. It's not called the gut feeling for nothing, because the gut is basically like a second brain. It is far more specialized in feeling, let's say, metaphysical aspects, okay, like emotional and psychological wave motions, okay, around you, because literally every idea, every thought, right, every emotion that you manifest is like a shockwave that bursts outwards, okay, and the more you manifest it, the more it bursts out, right, in just like AoEs in a game that trigger once per second or something like that, right? These trigger far more often, okay? And people around them who have uh, sufficient enough sensitivity, they are easily perceptive of the such. So much of the suffering, okay, also comes from other people, because some people, well, most people don't know how to handle their own, uh, you know, energies, and school, society, parents, and the such kind of augment this, because basically little to no, few to no one almost would ever teach you how to, you know, conduct a healthier life. Therefore, you know, make, uh, you know, your energy is much better. Now, is this something good or bad? Well, it definitely ain't serving humanity something good, and you know, one's suffering can almost always be someone else's, you know, happiness and fulfillment in a way, because there are people who also have such agendas, okay, personal agendas or worldwide agendas to make people feel bad, because nowadays it's been made in such a way that, you know, suffering is something that really sells, okay, and it sells very good, because, you know, everyone nowadays is singing, you know, those stupid songs about, you know, sorrow and having been left by everyone else, you know, suicidal tendencies and the such. They go very well because many people are affected by this, and you know, and if you um, keep yourself in this vibration, you know, you identify yourself that much with such songs, right, you're probably gonna attract the pain of other people, because there is something else a bit more advanced called, well, the pendulum effect, as it is called. And technically, every time you connect to an idea, which is, well, any kind of idea actually, you are technically also connecting to everyone, to that idea's history log, okay, like a certain idea is created, let's say, okay, you created a certain idea. Now that idea is spread into the world, okay. Now that spreading into the world can be, you know, like low level, when it is, you know, just your idea, you don't share it with anyone, and you simply ditch it, it still goes somewhere. But you can also create a video, you know, like so many people are, and you can post it on the internet. And now that idea will start having, you know, a bigger history log, because you're no longer the only one that's thinking of it, right? So other people are going to react to that idea. Some are going to react through pain, some are going to react through happiness, right? And well, ignorance, bliss, you know, these are the two extremes. So depending on where people are skilled, they will react in one way or another. So when you have so many of these happening around, right, when you have so many of these ideas, right, people think a lot of those, right, especially meme videos, right, they will react in certain different ways. But even if they laugh at those, the question is, do they laugh consciously or do they laugh unconsciously, okay? Because if they laugh unconsciously, then that shows ignorance, okay, and it kind of pulses ignorance. So when you connect to that, you're gonna attract a bit of that also, because when you connect to an idea, you give a bit of your energy to that idea and you attract something instead, right, in replace. Just like you learn in chemistry, when a certain reaction occurs, right, there is a certain amount of atoms, you know, that go in, and the same amount will also go out, probably in different shapes, of course, most likely in different shapes, but it's still the same amount. And now the point is, this is also another reason why suffering exists, okay, in so many people, because you are simply drawing it from different external sources, right? You're probably gonna take a seat in that bus and you don't know how many people actually have sat there, right? And so many people who sat there, right, they had their own thoughts, they had their own emotions, and of course they constantly bombarded that area with their thoughts, and the walls behind, right, everything is impregnated with that. Now the point is, as these, you know, are impregnated, you are taking a seat there, will have you interact a bit with those, right? So part of that will be drawn within you. You may most likely not become too aware of that, but again, it still kind of exists, right? So all these ideas, right? And for example, in video games, you can see that so much, right? Like so many people constantly crying that a certain thing or a combo or whatever is overpowered, but you know, ultimately it's not even their idea, right? They have taken it from other people, and It's also a unconsciousness factor, right? When people listen to other people, right, who are far more experienced, right, they will easily take up their points, right? They will simply identify with those points because they feel somewhat connected to that person who is a person of greater authority, right? Like a streamer, for example, right? They have access to the attention of so many people. So therefore, a lot of people with a lower self-esteem will consider this as, they are some kind of authority figure, right? So they will identify with a lot of their ideas because they would also want to be somewhat like that person, right? So understanding that most of the suffering that you have is not even yours, and there is a little point that you create, by your own self. You create by your own self because you react to all sorts of things, and that reaction is constantly creating a lot of suffering because you're basically not doing the right things, right? So if you strip yourself of the clothes that you have and you ask yourself, hey, are these clothes me? Well, we are all playing this game in which we are collectively agreeing that certain things belong to certain people, but the point is those clothes aren't even fully yours, right? You are making use of them. Yes, they are some tools, some physical tools that one makes use of in this world, but again, they are not you, right? Your thoughts, again, everything that your mind knows, right? Everything that your mind knows is something that came from the outside, right? You learn it from your parents, from video games, from movies, from documentaries, from school, from whatever. It was nothing else than, an external source, right? So then your emotions, right? Your emotions are created as a reaction to things that, you come across, right? When you encounter something, you have your own, likes and dislikes. Technically, they're what can be called your own karma, right? Part of it. And well, if you don't like, for example, birds, or you don't like bumblebees, or you don't like bugs, for example, that is what one may call karma, okay? It is a repetitive cycle that induces suffering within you because, well, you have programmed yourself in a way to do that, right? So also, this in many situations come from seeing your parents or close relatives react in such a way to different things around you which you unconsciously perceive as dangerous, right? So you perceive something as dangerous because you see other people, right? And till a certain age when most people aren't even becoming aware of the things around them, they will simply try to fit in because, well, fitting in is a social aspect, right? We are social beings, so we will kind of always want to fit in, right? But fitting in only makes us another brick in a wall. And the problem is when such a brick breaks, it's easy to replace, right? When you are the awkward brick, that has special dimensions, well, that's usually harder to replace, if not, well, kind of one in the world, right? Unique. So suffering, most of the situations comes from, you're not doing the right things, right? You're not attending to your own needs, but probably attending to the needs of others, probably way more than you should, right? So hopefully this video has been informing enough. I'm not willing to speak anymore for now because I want this video to be eye-opening, at least a bit. And well, it's gonna be part of the wisdom shorts, so it's already kind of lengthy enough. So all this being said, I'm not interested, well, I don't want to make those hour-long documentaries that I used to make in the older times. It's not that I can't, but I'd rather make shorter videos that people can enjoy watching and without overwhelming people's minds. So all this being said, take care of yourselves, become more introspective, and you'll see that all the things that you've been looking for are simply there for you, within you. And well, all this being said, you are loved and appreciated. Take care of yourselves. Ferenc on board, signing out.